Hey guys, happy Wednesday. Every Wednesday for the last 2 months, I think it's the last 2 months, I've been doing critique video. So when I find a video on YouTube where the guy's kind of like messing up, he's making a lot of mistakes, and it's usually a big YouTuber. I'm not going to pick on a homeowner. Well, I do have a homeowner coming up, but I'm not going to pick on him. I'm just going to tweak some of the things that he did. That's probably going to be next Wednesday. But I'm not doing a critique video today. The critique video I'm going to continue on because apparently you guys like it, and for whatever reason, I have more time on my hands than I need currently. So I don't mind doing the Wednesday video and then my normal drop on Friday. Yeah. So the normal drop on Friday is going to be a plumbing related. It's going to be how to sweat in a shower valve. There are a lot of people nowadays who don't know about sweating pipe, sweating, soldering, copper pipe, because everybody kind of grew up in the last 8, 10 years with PEX. And I don't particularly like PEX. So I'm gonna show how to sweat in a shower valve and the sweat process and all that stuff. And that video coming up Friday, I think it's 40 minutes long, but I hyphenated that 40 minutes from about an hour and a half, right? I consolidated, I cut all the fat and everything the best I could because I do tend to talk a lot. But I wanted to make all that information on that 40-minute video palatable to where a novice, like a DIYer, could figure out how to sweat pipe. So that video will drop on Friday. This video today will not be a critique video. It's about a product. And this is not a product. I say it's not a product endorsement, although I endorse it because I like it. I'm not getting paid by the company to talk about this product. I knew about this product probably 12, I'm going to say at least 12 years ago, maybe 14 years ago, that I knew about this product. And I think it's an excellent product for a homeowner, a DIYer. The reason that I don't use it necessarily because it takes too long to put it together in order to, yeah, I could literally mix up my mortar, put my mortar in my pan, screed it out, and get it all level at the edges and all that stuff before I could ever deal with this thing. And I actually bought one. I think it was maybe 6 years ago. About 6 years ago, I bought the kit, and it was of the intent to actually use it on a job, which I've never done. So that product has been in my trailer now for, like I said, 6 years, and I pulled it out because I wanted to kind of demonstrate some of the nuances, some of the things. Well, the video is going to show that. So I'm going to move on to the video and let you guys watch it. It has to do literally with this guy right here. He's putting it in the product. It's called Pitch Perfect or Perfect Pitch. And basically it facilitates, I get a lot of homeowners who are like, how do I get my pitch right going down to the drain and all that stuff? And so what these are plastic rails, which actually snap into your drain. There's a drain collar. There's a drain plastic collar that goes around the collar, the neck of your drain. And then you snap in these pieces all around, and they have extension pieces. So if you need to extend it out further, you can. And what that does is it allows you to pour your mortar in and screed off the top of all of those pieces, all of your excess mortar. And they stay in place because they're plastic and they got holes in them and all that stuff. So all the mortar is very cohesive, and it stays in place. And it's an excellent product that I wish I had invented. I literally wish I invented it because it's so simple, but yet so easy to get your pan perfect, which is why it's called Pitch Perfect. So again, this is not an endorsement per se. I've not been asked to push this product out there, and a lot of people know about it, but DIYers and homeowners would probably not know about it, and they probably should. But I will have a link in the description when this video is finished. If you want to purchase it, it's on Amazon. You can click on that link and purchase it for yourself if you want to. But I'm going to move on to this guy's video and let him talk.
What will be referred to as the liner or the pan membrane is a sheet of 40 mil vinyl material that is used to control the huge amount of water that annually falls on a shower floor. Mud beds are the sloped area under.
Now, I'm going to talk about this very briefly because I don't like how he's done this. This is backer board. Backer board meaning cement board. It's either Durarock or Wonder board. I'm not sure which. And he has it setting in the pan. Now, here's another issue, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit later on when the video begins to end, because he goes on to talk about the Curb Perfect. And the Curb Perfect is basically the same thing. It's a perforated plastic inside and outside that screw all together and all that stuff, and you set it over the liner of the curb so you're not puncturing into the curb. When you set that in there, you're screeding out, you're floating out your curb with mortar, and the mortar is now married to your bed, your mortar bed, which will wick up water. Same as his wallboard is going to wick up water because he's got it sitting inside of his mortar. So I don't like this, but yeah.
The floor tile and consist of 1 part Portland cement to 4 parts clean sand. All shower floor mud beds permeate water. If they didn't, there would not be a need for a liner. The water that passes through this mud bed and contacts the liner must be directed toward the drain to escape out the drain's weep holes. This creates a properly functioning pan. If the liner is not pre-pitched, water could pond between the bottom of the mud bed and the liner.
Okay, let me talk about this because I really do get tired of talking about the pre-pitch. The pre-pitch notion, it sounds good in theory, but I posted a video on my channel years ago on showing how a pre-pitch doesn't necessarily work, or in lieu of not doing a pre-pitch, your water will still find its way to the weep holes and all that stuff. So very, very quickly, I want to just say this. If any of you out there have a shower that is pitched down to the drain with tile on it, right? The shower that you currently have right now, turn the shower on, swirl the shower head a little bit around and all that stuff to get the shower tile saturated with water and all that stuff, and let it drain out and all that stuff. Then shut the water off and then look at the top of your shower. So with gravity fed, in other words, you have all this air and all this stuff, with gravity fed, that water is sitting on top of the tile of your shower, even though it's pitched 1/4 of an inch per foot. That water in an outside environment is sitting on top of your tile of your shower until the next day when it dries out. Now, put that same water inside a mortar pan where capillary action takes over, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. But go do that experiment for me. Just out of kicks and giggles. Wet your shower down and see all the pooling of the water on the surface. So yeah.
This problem causes many of the mold and mildew related issues facing our industry today. Pre-pitch is the first product to be installed. Pre-pitch is a unique tool that creates the proper subfloor pitch needed underneath the pan liner to manipulate the water flow toward the weep holes that are an integral part of shower floor drains. Begin installing pre-pitch by first determining if the subfloor is level and how many sticks will be needed to accommodate the floor's particular shape. Reverse mark each stick that needs to be cut to length. If the wall is farther than 3 feet from the drain, extended pre-pitch sticks are available. Cut with PVC pipe cutters, hacksaw, or a dry diamond blade grinder. Stick ends should be spaced less than 2.5 feet apart to make screeding easier. The thin end of pre-pitch should remain about a 1/2 inch back from the edge of the drain's bottom flange. This eliminates a step down after the drain's top flange is attached. On concrete, use 2-sided tape to hold pre-pitch in place while the area is being filled with mud. On wood subfloor installations, use screws or nails to secure pre-pitch to the floor. Be sure the screws or nails are countersunk so they do not puncture the liner. Mix mud slightly wetter than a dry pack type mixture. This will yield better results for the thin fill close to the drain.
Now let me stop it here real quick because I want to talk about what he's doing. He's on a concrete slab, and the concrete is dry, and the pre-pit should not be on a dry concrete slab. That concrete should have been wetted up a little bit, or you could have used a primer because do have concrete primer, kind of smells like ammonia, and you could paint that on there to get a better grip of this pre-pitch material that he's putting on there.
Screed each cell full and allow to set. After pre-pitch is set properly, the liner can now be installed. As a rule of thumb, the liner, and any nails for that matter, should not be lower than 3 inches above the top of the shower curb. This creates an above-ground swimming pool effect to control water flow inside a home. This way, water could fill the pan and spill over the curb before it could find another way out. Lay out the liner on the shower floor, allowing for the correct amount of material up the walls and over the curb. If the area for the liner is larger than the widest material manufactured, which is 6 feet wide, an additional piece of material must be seamed and glued to make a single larger piece. A special glue is made for this purpose. Follow manufacturer's directions carefully. Never use PVC pipe glue for this task. It can be unpredictable and possibly melt the liner. Particular attention should be made where the liner and the bottom drain flange meet. A bead of plumber's putty between the top of the flange bolts and the outer edge of the bottom flange under the liner will guarantee a permanent seal.
Okay, so a lot of people out there that watch my videos, and arguably a lot of people already know this stuff. It's usually a bead of caulking that goes into that little indentation around the bottom of the drain before you put your liner on. I don't necessarily believe in that because I do flaps. I cut an X in the center, and when my locking flange goes in there, it pushes those flaps downward. So anyway, showers don't back up the way that you would probably win the lottery before you'd ever have a shower backup. And that's the reason that I don't necessarily use the caulking, but I've never seen plumber's putty used here. It's a little bit weird, and I suppose it'll work. If I were to do it on a continuum on every job that I did, I would still prefer silicone over plumber's putty, but okay.
Staple or nail the liner up and fold the corners in a way that will not affect the wallboards.
Okay, and that's a big deal too. Let me back up here just a tad. So you see that gap that he's caused to the left of his left hand? We don't have that gap most of the time, so we have to do kind of a hospital fold in that corner, which bumps out, and what he said, bumping out the corner. And a lot of people, and that's why a lot of people put their wallboard first and then pour their mortar pan, because their mortar will push the wallboard up against those folds a lot easier. I don't agree with that because I don't have that problem. I've been doing this work for well over 20 years, and I never had that problem with that bump out. It can be remediated in different ways. But to have a gap the way he has in this little mock-up, I don't know if it's a mock-up, it might be a real shower. You're just not going to have that. And then he goes forward with wrapping his pan liner around this hexagon type shower shape. And what I suggest is using Kerdi or any cloth membrane, because those folds decrease, strike that. The bumps of the folds, especially on a curb, decrease exponentially when you use a cloth membrane rather than a pan liner.
bunched up liner in the corners will kick the wallboards out of plumb.
Yeah, right.
Locate the bolts that hold down the top flange and make a small X on top of the bolts through the liner.
Okay, I disagree with this method also, and I talk about it on a lot of videos that I do. So in other words, there's 4 bolts that the locking flange is going to tie into, and there's four bolts he puts in before the pan liner. So what he's suggesting is to cut the top head of that bolt and then squeeze it through. Whereas the body of the bolt is much thinner, which is why I do my X in the pan liner. I find out where the bolt hole is at, and I do my X in the pan liner so that the body of the bolt goes in there very, very tightly. If you're doing it on the head of the bolt, which he's doing there, you'll stretch out that little X that you made. And just a small thing, but it matters to me.
Push liner down past the bolt heads.
See how loose that is? That just bothers me a lot. There's no reason to do it that way. You could do the body of the bolt, like I said, with an X, a very smaller X, and push that through where it really squeezes on the body of the bolt rather than having a larger X on the head.
Install and tighten the top flange down securely. Set aside the riser and don't cut the circle of the liner out of the drain hole for now.
And that's not where I don't cut a circle there. Later on, I'll cut an X there. But I cut the X prior to this locking flange. See how bunched up it is at the perimeter of this drain? It's bunched up a lot because it's like really squeezing down into that drain hole, and that doesn't make any sense. Just cut the X right there.
This will keep any debris from entering the drain.
Whatever.
Fasten the liner on the outside wall of the curb only and trim off the excess.
And this is what I'm talking about. There's at least 3 folds going on here. So in other words, there are three piece of pan liner on this outside corner, and it just mucks things up because it's not watertight. Like I'm not seeing him, well, he didn't show the process, but I don't see any glue there. So it's not watertight. As much as it looks like it is, at some point there was a cut made. And I just don't agree with that at all. It's much, much easier to use a cloth membrane like Curdy or any other cloth membrane where you can actually get your wallboard on there much easier. Having said that, he's not doing wallboard on this. As I said from the very beginning, he's going to use Curb Perfect, which is that plastic piece that goes on top of the liner on that curb, and then mortar is pushed inside of that plastic form thing.
To ensure the pan liner has been installed properly and will not leak, a water test is recommended prior to mud and tile. This can be done by filling the pan with 2 to 3 inches of water and let stand overnight. If no water has escaped, you're ready for the next step. First, protect the liner by covering it with a heavy pad or soft tarp. Hang the moisture barrier by starting on one side of the shower stall and work your way around along the top of the walls.
I'm going to skip this because we're not doing moisture barrier the way he has this visqueen on there. We're not doing that anymore because we're waterproofing the surface of the wallboard, and therefore you don't want a moisture barrier in the back and then waterproof on your walls. And I don't believe he's going to waterproof his walls anyway, so that's the reason he's putting this material up. Let me see if I can kind of push ahead of that. Let the plastic hang down over the floor, blah, blah, blah. So in theory, any moisture that gets through your tile and your grout and your thin set and your backer board, which honestly, folks, doesn't happen. This is a little bit overkill that we did back in the day. Strike that. That's a lot of overkill because water doesn't permeate through all those 3 layers. And I'm telling you, from the tile to your thin set to your backer board and then get to this plastic. But in theory, it would get to that plastic and then it would drip down behind that plastic and then back into your pan, which I disagree with. That just makes no sense to me. When you start thinking logically about some of these methods that we used to do, even the methods that we do today, that's why I push back. That's why I'm a maverick. That's why I talk smack about guys that do certain things because it doesn't make any sense. It does from the very get go, like a pre-slope. Oh, that would work until you think about capillary action and wicking water going up over the curb onto your subfloor outside. I've seen it happen. Most of this stuff that I talk about, that I talk against, because I've seen the result. Every shower that I build, I have to dismantle one. I have to take one out, and I find the failures of the showers. And then when I find the failures, and I see what happens, see, this can't work anyway. This he's got the plastic wrapped over the pan liner. Let me let it go forward.
Inches up from the floor. Use the minimum.
See, let me go back to that because this is the nonsense. See that gap where his left hand is at? 3 to 4 inches up from the floor. So in theory, water would get behind your wallboard. Remember, the wallboard comes next, right? Water would get behind your wallboard, follow the plastic, and down into your pan. I I don't know. Maybe I'm weird, but I'm just not seeing that happen. I'm not seeing the water penetration through a wall just doesn't happen enough. I've taken out showers that are 35, 40 years old with sheetrock, and the sheetrock is pristine until we get down toward the bottom, which is the reason that you don't put your wallboard into your pan and all this other stuff. So yeah.
Use the minimum amount of staples necessary to secure the plastic to the walls. Curb Perfect is a stay-in plastic form designed to eliminate the possibility of any nails puncturing the liner on the top or inside walls of shower curbs. Curb Perfect is attached to the outside wall only, eliminating any water intrusion to the stacked 2x4s that comprise the curb.
Okay.
What will be referred to as the liner or
So
the
I'm gonna
top or inside walls of shower curbs.
Let me talk about this for a minute. Now, again, referring back to what I was talking about before. Hold on a minute. Let me bring myself up a little more. This shower curb, this idea of doing a curb with this plastic piece wrapping the curb and all that stuff to where you can have a curb perfect, which is what it's called, is so unnecessary. It really is. I see the reason that they made it because they don't want perforations into your pan liner that's wrapping over your curb. But the wicking action is real. It's going to get up into his wallboard because he embedded his wallboard into the pan material, and it's going to get into his curb because now the curb is going to be floated into the pan, and the pan's going to get wet, and it's going to wick that water up and over. I've seen it happen. This isn't something I'm thinking or guessing at. This is something I know. So, although the premise is good, he could have just easily have built a normal curb out of 2x4s and all that stuff. It doesn't have to be floated and married in. But let me get back to the other part because he never really could show. Why didn't he show? Maybe I missed it. Okay, so the pitch perfect he showed, the pitch perfect part he showed, which is basically how you would do, the next part. And I don't know why this was cut up to the point where he never showed the mortar pan because I could have sworn on this video he showed the mortar pan, but I guess he didn't. Let me blow this up if I can. No, he didn't show the mortar pan. But that's basically what the mortar pan, the pitch perfect or perfect pitch, as it were, is all the rails that are going to lock into the drain. And so for that reason, this is basically the pre-pitch, which is the same way that the pitch perfect product is going to be used. I don't know why it wasn't shown, but it should be shown. It was a very short video originally, and I spliced it up and cut it down even more. Maybe that was my bad. I'm not seeing it now, but anyway, the point being is that that this product actually does function well. There it is at the top. Yeah. Well, that's a pre-pitch still. Like if I had invented this, I would be rich. Well, I don't know if the guy is rich, but this is a really good product. No lie. This is a drain. Let me get him off of here. If I can just bring myself up, period. So this is a drain, and I've got it screwed in already. And so this is a flange that goes in between the drain. So, whoops. So the bottom drain flange, and these are the bolts that I was talking about earlier. The bottom drain flange sits like that, and then your top locking flange, which is this, sits in there, and it's kind of twists in there, right? And so, and that's after you put your pan liner. So imagine your pan liner is right there on the edge. Then this piece, which is part of the system, goes in between the drain. I'm not going to, well, maybe I will, through the whole barrel out. That's all that is. And then this piece, see little cutouts? That's where your rails slide into. And then this has the exact depth of what your mortar is going to be. And I didn't measure it, but it looks to be about 1.25 inches, maybe 1.5 inches of girth of your mortar. So this is going to be your mortar, right? And when you screw this down all the way, it does fit a little bit loose because you do want to be able to manipulate it where you want it and all that stuff, but you're trying to get it as center as possible. Come on, come on, come on, come on. All right, there we go. So that's very tight, locked in. So that's locked in. That's not going anywhere. And that's the final result minus the rails. The rails would go into these little slots here, depending on where you need them. Very, very sturdy, very, very girthy. And then, of course, your mortar is only going to go about to there because you're still going to need tile and thin set to get up to the edge of your drain. So the mortar is going to go to about that level right here. The beauty of this product is these rails are 3-foot sections. So you have a possibility of having a 6-foot wide shower, 6-foot long shower. And then like he showed, you just cut off the excess that you don't need. So these are the rails. These are the beginning rails, right? So it pitches it up to 1/4 inch all the way. And you see how the little locking piece goes in there, and you just put it into any of these that you want, depending on, you know, like how many of these rails. And you can buy these rails individually. If you don't have enough for your shower, you can actually buy them individually. And it just slides right in there. And it doesn't slide so well because it's been sitting in my trailer for so long, but it just snaps right in, right? And so this is 3 foot long. So this is the back of your shower, right? And then this is where your drain is at. And then the opposing rail would snap in. I'm not going to do it because I don't have enough room here. But the opposing rail would snap in wherever you want it over here. Now you have a 6-foot long shower. And on top of that, we have extension pieces. So if 3 foot isn't long enough, you go down to the end here of your 3 foot, and we have another 3-foot section that's much larger that actually I'm not going to slide this in. Do I have it upside down? No, I don't. I have this piece upside down. Maybe I will slide it in. And that just slides right in to here. And now you've just extended your reach from 3 foot to 6 foot on one side. So you could have a 12-foot shower, and this thing would facilitate that. I'm not going to slide it in because it doesn't really matter anyway. But yeah, so from the very beginning of your drain, way back here, 3 foot out, and then another 3 foot out is 6 feet. And then if you do that on the other side, you have 12 total feet. Is that right? 3, yeah, 12 total feet. So it's an excellent idea. You know, like I love this product. I love it. I love it. I love it for homeowner. As I said, I don't use it because by the time I go in there, and sometimes it's not just the 2 rails you need on one side, sometimes you need 3. You're going to have to order extra. So you're going to have to carry a bunch of these rails around with you as a contractor so that you always have as many as you need. And then by the time you buy the product and get it shipped and all this stuff and blah, blah, blah. No. For a homeowner, and a typical homeowner that I talk to has taken a month to build their shower, sometimes 6 months, sometimes a year. So you have more than enough time to order this product and make it work for you. And then, you know, you can go on YouTube and find all the instructions for it, which I just basically showed you. What I like about it, again, because all these holes are going to push the mortar through, like it just becomes cohesive. The whole thing becomes cohesive, and they're plastic, and they're just going to set in there forever and ever and ever. And then what you do is you take your screed. I don't have anything that I can show except a phone. So between the rails, you just take your screed board of some type or whatever, and you push off the excess right on top of the rail. And it makes a perfect pitch all the way around. It's a beautiful product. I love it. Absolutely love it. Again, I don't have a use for it. You know what? I might do a video of it one day because I do have it. I did purchase it and it's just sitting around. So I might do a video one day. But if you want to get it, as I said before, I'm going to put a link in the description area and probably pin the first comment. Well, I have a link there too where you can purchase it. I just can't say enough about it. I don't like their curb perfect. But if you decided you wanted to do that and somehow mitigated the option, the choice that you have, because you do have a choice, if you use Curb Perfect and you waterproofed everything, then you're good. But this video was produced, I think, 12 years ago, before most people were waterproofing. I think I started waterproofing about 12 years ago, but again, I'm kind of a maverick and people weren't doing that back then. In fact, people were getting after me back then about waterproofing my floor, my walls, or whatever. And now everybody's just doing the same thing. So yeah, a little ahead of the game. So that's it. So it's not a critique video per se. It's a product video, but you know, like I call it where I see it. There are products out there that I like that I don't use. I just don't, you know, push them out there because why would I make somebody else rich? Anyway, that's it for today. This Friday in 2 days, I'll have a video popping up on how to sweat a shower bell. And then next Wednesday, I'll have that video I referenced to earlier about a homeowner doing his own shower. And it's going to be a critique video on a very lighthearted side. I'm not going to really push hard against him because I could tell he's not a professional. He's not one of these guys, as I did before, pushing out videos for informational purposes rather than him just showing how he particularly tackled the project. And he did a pretty good job too. So I'm not going to have a lot of stuff to say negative about him. But yeah, look for that on next Wednesday. And that's it. So we'll see you guys later. Subscribe, share, like, do all that stuff. Hey, if you enjoyed that video and you learned something, consider being a Patreon member. $5, $10, $15 a month would help me greatly produce more videos. I make nothing from YouTube at all. If you're going to call me for advice, please donate $50 for 30 minutes. My link to my PayPal and my Patreon account is down below. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell so you get immediate notifications as soon as I post videos. And thank you very much for your support.